Let's talk about the Just Stop Oil protest at Stonehenge, and I bet you were furious to see this. So maybe you'll say no, it's for the planet. Let's take a proper look at what happened here. So they walk up towards these precious stones, and they say they've targeted Stonehenge because today is the summer solstice, which celebrates the natural world, but governments aren't doing anything to protect it. Orange is their sort of colour. Yeah, it is the summer solstice, so it's the longest day today. And the protesters caused a bit of reaction. Let's just have a look up here. So we've got some tweets and whatnot. This is obviously election. Rishi Sunak, Just Stop Oil are a disgrace. 7 million views. Keir Starmer, the damage done to Stonehenge is outrageous. Just Stop Oil are pathetic. Those responsible must face the full force of the law. He gets nearly 10 million views. So Liam Gallagher there, not sure which party he's leading. Don't mess with the Stones, man. They have mystical powers. Hope they all wake up to Moz as orange toads. We're going to speak to a Just Stop Oil spray. Isn't it great when you get a sudden involvement in politics from someone in the pop world?
And whenever it's Liam Gallagher, it's always especially sort of
robust.
Firm.
I remember the Spice Girls.
And a lot of imagery.
Do you remember when the Spice Girls came out against joining the Euro? That was brilliant, about 30 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, and of course, and they said that Thatcher, going back to her, was the first Spice Girl.
That's it.
Mel C was furious when that
really? Was she?
She's
Yeah.
from Liverpool.
Yeah,
But getting more pop involvement in elections, I think we need, probably. Okay. First, though, has Just Stop Oil gone too far with the Stonehenge protest, and should they just get lost? We're asking this after 2 Just Stop Oil supporters did this. They go with this sort of orange painty spray, powdery thing, and they put it on the stones, and they say, well, don't worry, it'll be washed off in the rain. But people have gone absolutely crazy about it. So let's talk to this now with one of the spokespeople for Just Stop Oil, Ben Larsen. What did Stonehenge ever do to you?
Well, hi, Jeremy. Thanks for having us on. The question you're asking here is just totally way off the mark. So you're saying, should Just Stop Oil just bog off? Should they go away?
I didn't say bog off, but we'll use bog off if you like.
Okay, we can say what we like. But
right.
When's the last time you got a fossil fuel executive in here on this lovely panel show and asked them, should they just be in jail?
I'm asking about Stonehenge. I'm saying, why damage Stonehenge?
I know you're asking about Stonehenge, but it just shows how off your priorities are. You're talking about dust on an old rock instead of continued extraction of oil and gas that is literally headed to the collapse of British society.
Well, you could justify any action at all with that argument. You could say this is so serious, we can do anything.
The actions that need to be justified are continued extraction and burning of North Sea oil and gas.
But where do you draw the line? Would you burn down Buckingham Palace?
Well, we haven't. I mean, we've.
But is there a line anywhere?
So let's look at what was actually done here. So a bit of orange dust is sprayed on a rock that has weathered 5,000 years of British weather. All we have to do is just wait for a bit of wind and rain, take it off. We've had the wettest 18 months on record.
So it's not, because initially we thought it was maybe gloss or something. It wasn't, clearly. I mean, there is that, Chris, though, isn't there? That it's apparently will wash off in the rain.
I mean, I have a special depth of feeling for Just Stop Oil. I absolutely hate them, and I'm really sorry. I mean, you seem like a lovely fellow, but I think that you are completely counterproductive in what you do, because I don't think that you garner support. I think what you did there, it signifies something greater than just dust on a rock. It signifies...
What's your plan,
hang on,
what's your plan?
Can I finish?
Don't change the subject.
What it signifies is that it's acceptable to either spray paint something as precious to people as Stonehenge or works of art or something like that, so that kind of direct action is OK, which I think people get frustrated by. And also, I don't think you're honest about your objectives, about what you want from people with your desire for us to Just Stop Oil. And also, I loathe your playbook of we're going to make as much noise and attention as possible, so we're invited onto television shows. And then when we are, we're going to complain that you're asking us these questions when that's precisely what you want. You then deflect everything and say, well, hang on, where are the oil executives? Well, they're not spraying paint.
I am sure that the oil and gas industry, which is making a profit of $2 billion per day, whilst gouging energy prices for everyday people, committing atrocities against human beings and nature all throughout the world, I'm sure they are thrilled that we are sitting here painting protesters and a box of corn flour as the villains of the climate change story.
Do you support them? This protest is OK?
I don't, not as far as I have seen, none of the actions that Just Stop Oil have taken cause irreversible damage.
Okay.
What it does cause irreversible damage is the impact of fossil fuel extraction on the natural world and on human beings' lives and livelihoods.
All right. So you've got to support it here. I'll show you. There was another thing that happened yesterday, which was an attempt to spray Taylor Swift's jet, apparently. So I'm not sure whether that is Taylor's private. Oh, that one probably is there. Yeah, well, I don't know. But they go up to it. You get a lot of publicity for this. Did you know about this in advance, Ben?
I saw this when I woke up this morning.
So you didn't know, you didn't put a bet on it or anything?
No, it's a tight crew, much tighter than the Conservative Party.
Okay, so the people who decide to do this just do it off their own bat?
No, Just
Do
Stop
I have a central command or something?
Just Stop Oil's, I think the thing that makes it special, to be honest, is how well organised it is. So if anyone wants to spray up Stonehenge, if they want to spray up Taylor Swift's private jet, they can go to juststopoil.org. They can sign up there. We'll be in touch. We'll put you in a
very
team.
organised.
It's incredibly well organised. It's so well organised that this summer there's going to be teams across Western Europe, in Canada, in Australia, taking action pretty similar to what we saw this morning here. And it's coordinated internationally.
Do you not, I mean, you've already got a criminal record, I understand, for being among 6 protesters found guilty of disrupting traffic near the Natural History Museum. And those traffic protests drove people bananas. Don't regret that at all.
Well, no, I don't regret it at all.
Because it won't have necessarily thought, ooh, I'm stuck in traffic, therefore I'm going to live a greener life.
Well, Jeremy, I think here we're stuck on the tactics. So we've heard from Christo's brilliant explanation of why the tactics are so objectionable. But the real thing to be talking about here is why people are driven to this. And this is because ordinary people can see that the British society is facing collapse. So just to give you an example, last week, pilgrims on the Hajj in Mecca, 550 pilgrims collapsed from heat exhaustion.
Mecca is not in Britain.
It's not in Britain, but it is a global problem. It's not going to just be limited.
British society's facing collapse. I'm thinking we had
100,000
people turn up here yesterday in boats. They're coming for a reason.
1 in 4 people are at risk of flooding, and many of those people do live in Britain, and the infrastructure is not up to scratch to deal with that threat.
Right,
not to mention food insecurity, which
you've got look how balanced we are. You've got an ally here. Hang on 1 second. Let's just go for Jane in Portsmouth. What do you think about Ben Larsen's tactics here with Stonehenge?
Appalling. I'm appalled. I can't. I'm just listening to it now. Can I just ask one question? How did all the protesters get to Stonehenge yesterday?
Cycle.
I don't know. You'd have to ask them. I wasn't there, unfortunately.
You must know.
No. I'm asking you. I'm not asking them. I'm asking you.
Jane, your guess is as good as mine. What the important thing is these people were brave enough individuals to take action that they saw was necessary.
Listen to Jane.
No, don't deflect me. There's only one way they can get to Stonehenge, is either on foot or by car or vehicle of some description, because it's right out in the middle of Salisbury Plain and there is no transport there. So they must have used transport to get there.
Well, it could have been on a coach, I guess.
It takes still transport.
I'll tell you what they didn't do. They didn't take Taylor Swift's private jet.
It doesn't matter. They didn't go on foot. They didn't go by horseback, and they walked, and they either walked or they had to go in a vehicle.
Is that Jane? Is that oil. Maybe that's a detail, Jane, because some of them will use cars sometimes, but they're doing it to make us talk about the planet. Which we are now doing.
We're facing existential threat in this country, and your conversation that you're inviting viewers on to have is: should we be walking everywhere? That's your level of political action that you're thinking is appropriate.
We're talking about should you be spray painting Stonehenge?
I don't have any political actions at all. What I am is an average human being who is very distressed over the fact that your people went and sprayed whatever they sprayed on a Stonehenge, which is it's just amazing. Which is also somebody's church. It's somebody's place of worship. Their Druids worship there.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Jane. Let's go to Jane. Another Jane in Manchester. Jane, hello.
Hello there, Jeremy. How are you?
I'm well. Now, do you think it's justified? Ben has told us about the planet.
Oh, dear, Ben. You've really gone off the mark this time. As the previous Jane spoke about, Stonehenge is so important to many people. I'm a Wiccan/pagan,
okay,
and it's our religious monument The day before our biggest religious event, you go and do this act.
Yeah, it's a bit.
Can I respond, Jane?
Well, yeah, please do.
Okay, well, so I totally agree. Stonehenge is a beautiful, incredible monument. It stood for 5,000 years, and the people who built this monument centred an understanding of environmental awareness at the whole heart of their worldview.
Yeah.
They've left us, Stonehenge, 5,000 years later. Jane, what are we as a society leaving our, not our ancestors, descendants 5,000 years later, what are we leaving our kids? What are we leaving our grandkids? At the moment, the state of British nature...
If you ask a question, you've got to let her answer.
Okay,
go on, Jane.
Stonehenge is way off the mark, Ben. Seriously, it's our church, it's our cathedral. You've gone across the line with this one. I was a huge supporter of Just Stop Oil. I get the arguments you're making. Mm-hmm. With this act, you've put so many people against you. Mm. I don't want to use the word sacrilege because that's a hugely emotive word. But this is my church. This is my cathedral. You've gone to the day before we made our pilgrimage there.
Did you realise what you'd done there?
I think
think about it.
A lot of people in Just Stop Oil do share pagan belief systems, and
not the ones who did the spraying.
I don't think you can say that for sure without having them on.
I bet they don't. Well, Jane wouldn't spray it.
Okay, well that's your bet.
Yeah.
Now we've spoken previously at Mecca when people are doing Hajj. That's Islam's holiest site. 550 people collapsed from heat exhaustion.
You wouldn't go and spray that, would you?
Yeah, or what about a mosque?
Yeah.
Or a cathedral?
This is an insane...
We need to actually... Because the funny thing about this is that the Conservatives were just 5 minutes ago trying to delist Stonehenge so that they could build a motorway basically pretty much through it. And did we hear much? It's very easy.
Listen, I know that road. They're trying to put a tunnel.
It's very easy to go after
yeah.
protesters. It takes a lot more bravery and boldness to go after people who actually have power, who actually have interest in continuing an industry that is not only going to harm us, but is harming millions of people right now.
Stay with us, Ben, if you can. Before the break, we asked what was England's first capital city. Gave you Canterbury, Oxford, Winchester. The answer is Winchester. Yeah, named by King Alfred the Great. He was pretty great, old Alfred. Yeah, he was the first one, really. Was he the one who burnt the cakes? Are you good in your history?
No, I've just realised that's the answer to a crossword clue I tried to
do. So you're interested in the future but not the past. Am I right?
No, I have big respect for what happened in the past, especially social movements that won't change in this country.
Listen, I don't know much about kings and queens either, so there's no disrespect, man. Dahlia, Christo, Ben are here. Ben is from Just Stop Oil. Ben has been talking about the justification, if there is one, for painting Stonehenge. Later we're talking about nuclear weapons. Let's get some more calls. And you don't mind taking the calls, Ben?
No, I love it.
All right, you love it? OK. So, Jeremy in Devon, what would you like to ask Ben?
It's not so much ask him as just agree with his sort of sentiments, really. I mean, the idea we're still seeing on the news, this idea that somehow the stones had paint thrown all over them yesterday. And just no one accepting the idea this was essentially orange powder. You might as well have gone and put a banner up there, knowing that the banner can be taken down the next day, just as this cornflower, this orange cornflower can. Now, anyone of my age...
Yeah, I hear you.
Sorry,
and also, I was going to say that whenever they throw tomato soup at a painting, my first question is, was there glass on the painting every time? Now, you've only ever done it when there's glass on the painting.
Sure.
I guess, I wonder, let me ask Ben, is the next step to do it on a painting where there isn't glass?
Well, listen, the next step is to organise in communities and create a strong enough demand, strong enough voice to get politicians to stop burning oil and gas by 2030.
Answer my questions. Just one.
Listen,
is the next step to throw tomato soup at a painting where there isn't glass?
We can't say where this will stop or where it will end until the politicians get serious about dealing with climate change.
Also, the point is that the consequence of that question is not life or death in the way that the consequence of asking about what are we going to do about climate breakdown, why are there oil and gas lobbyists standing as Labour MPs, why is the oil and gas industry donating to the Conservative Party? The answer to that is a life or death question. The answer to, are you going to get some tomato soup on a painting?
It's a lack of accountability. So it's a
soup.
complete lack of accountability then. It's every single time your organisation carries out something like this, you don't want to be accountable to it.
That's not question. That's not the oil and gas industry. In the Niger Delta, where Shell extracts oil, do you know what the life expectancy in the Niger Delta is?
The oil and gas industry aren't here.
41 years old is the life expectancy in Niger Delta. When have those companies been held accountable?
But the oil and gas industry aren't here. If it was Just Stop Oil carry out an act, it's perfectly reasonable to ask them why they did that act, whether it is getting people on board, what their next act will be. That's perfectly reasonable. And to deflect that is a lack of accountability.
The financial and insurance infrastructure that sustains the fossil fuel industry is headquartered in London.
And by the way,
but you can justify that again. You're slightly swerving, aren't you? Because you're taking us into other territory when we're just talking about what's the next thing you're going to hit and where the line is.
Okay, so for every action,
a church, a cathedral, a mosque.
Every action Just Stop Oil does, they sit down, they wait to be arrested by the police. So, Christo, there absolutely is accountability. We have spokespeople who come on media shows.
And don't answer questions.
I've answered all your questions.
You've deflected many of them. You've not actually
let's just see if Steve has any more. Steve, ask Ben a question. You might want to support him. I don't know.
Yeah, hi, Jeremy.
Hi, Steve.
Good to speak to you again. I just want to really ask one question of the Just Stop Oil gentleman. Why do they never demonstrate outside various embassies, like China, America, India, and spray those buildings with their orange flower? Just a question, really.
Why not, Ben?
It's a really good question. Thank you, Steve. The reason we focus on UK institutions is because we're a UK-based group. So we believe the theory of political change is that you're most effective where you live, where you've got families, where you're in a community. We do work with groups across Europe, mostly in the Anglosphere, across Europe and America and Canada, Australia, these sorts of countries. And each one of those groups will target their government institutions, trying to pressure their government to change.
OK,
but
so
I can try and...
British-based protests. Thank you, Steve. Wendy in Newbury, what would you like to say?
I'd like to know how those two people got to Stonehenge. Did they walk there or did they go in a car? Like, biggest percentage of these people tend to use transport.
Yes, OK, we've tried to get to that. We didn't manage to. They must have used a vehicle, I guess, because it's hard to hike it.
Well, listen, you can be in a society and still criticise aspects of that society. You know, just because people use a car or just because people don't wear hair shirts all day doesn't mean they can't object to
is that
billions
okay?
of tons of oil being pumped out.
I hear you. I mean, they might not drive very much. Are you, Wendy, if they got a cab there or something, would that be a terrible thing?
Well, yeah, it's using what they're all complaining about, really. And being at home, I guarantee you that gentleman who sat there talking about it all and saying it's right, I guarantee you he is using something to do with oil, something, or wearing something, that's corroborated with oil companies. You just don't know.
But he might be right about the big thing. It's just, I don't know whether the protest is right, but the idea that we are putting so much carbon into the air that we're heating up, and the heating up is causing serious damage to the planet. And you probably agree with that as a scientific thing.
I don't disagree with that. What I'm frustrated by is, firstly, the lack of plan. So you want us to just stop oil, but there isn't actually the full technology in place yet for us to completely just stop oil. And so that's very sketchy. And also, like I say, you also, as part of your plan, want us to no longer take foreign holidays. You want us to no longer have...
Not true.
Yes, it is. I got it from your website. Would you like me to read it to you?
Go on.
It was the blog about how you see a future without oil. Whilst people are better off in a lot of ways, they don't fly abroad on holiday anymore. They
but you can still get a bus.
Hang
You
on,
can still get a
you
train.
asked me to read from your
Go on.
website. They share essential resources like vacuum cleaners, DIY tools and camping kit. They rarely buy new, but find there's an abundance of choice in clothes, books, electronics and furniture already in circulation.
true, the last
I'd like my own vacuum cleaner and I'd like to visit my family abroad. So if you're going to be not honest about your goals, then obviously people are going to get frustrated
get
with
another
Would
you.
you like
call.
to have a stable food supply? Would you like to not be at risk of flooding?
So I should never visit my family abroad in order to. Those are my two choices.
That is not the two choices.
Well, then why is that what they're
There's a
listing on their
holiday they're talking
website?
about.
But what
Hang on, let me pause because I must get some more calls on. Kath in West Yorkshire, hi.
Hi. As far as I'm concerned, the guy that sat there from whatever, Stop Oil, him and his cronies, every single one of them, should serve a 5-year life sentence, hard labour, chopping up rocks the size of Stonehenge, and you lot, I don't know where you work, but can I have a job there because you don't seem to do a day's work because you're too busy destroying property that belongs either to other people or to this country. And as for stopping oil, if you actually believed in that, you would be sat there naked because everything you have got on your body is made in a factory run by oil.
Let's just go to Ben on that, Kath. There's a lot there, but you're living an oil-based life as well.
I think we'd have to come back after the watershed for Kathy's suggestions. But yeah, we live in an oil-based society, but we've got two choices here. Either we stop the fossil fuel economy, we stop this, because Kathy's right, that everything we wear, everything, how we get around, it is based on oil. That's what our economy is based on. Either we make a plan, the government makes a plan to transition away from that by 2030, which is what Just Stop Oil's demand is, or the fossil fuel economy ends us. Crop failure, drought, devastation.
Thank you.